Hello, my name is JD Jessup. I'm a quality inspector. I'm learning more about the quality field. I'm planning on becoming a quality engineer or a manufacturing engineer, and I'm recording this to show you my path to becoming a manufacturing engineer. I currently have a 2 year degree and have since given up on the bachelor's degree due to costs. And so I'm finding other ways to educate myself and learn both on the job and off the job. So, to get into the quality technician, a quality technician supports and, under the direction of quality engineers and supervisors, analyzes, solves quality problems, prepares inspection plans and instructions, along with other quality related things, including statistical process control. These are what the questions on the test come from. And in each section, it's going to focus on a few different points, maybe have a few different questions on each point. It just depends on what gets randomized into it. And for the first part here, the quality concepts and tools, there's 18 questions. These are the fundamental questions for anybody in quality. You have to understand the customer-supplier relationship, quality principles, products, processes, etc. One of the other things you need to know is cost of quality. That one can be a big one because that is the business aspect of quality. The purpose of quality is to reduce cost and increase profit for a company that is manufacturing something. Quality prevents loss and it makes more efficient the gains that we have. Quality tools, there's a few different things that can be a part of this. This is going to be things like the cause and effect diagrams, flowcharts, check sheets, Pareto distributions, etc. I'm not going to go into much details for those. Those are pretty standard stuff on understanding those things. Should be pretty easy to evaluate as well. I'm not going to get into these at this point, but there's a whole lot more that comes involved with quality tools such as Six Sigma, Lean, continuous improvement techniques, etc. Statistical techniques. This is one that if you don't have a strong math focus in your education, this can be a little bit of a struggle. I loved mathematics and I'd already taken a class on statistics, and so these things came a little bit easier to me when I was taking the test. It was the third hardest subject in the test for me, but it was relatively easy, especially when you're allowed the book, which has the formulas and stuff that is required. And those are great reference guides when you are working with it in the field. Metrology, since I use metrology every single day, this was also very easy for me. And I'm not going to go too much into it, but if you do not have a strong background in metrology, I recommend getting into a position where you're going to learn more and more and more about metrology and calibration, because these things do come up. They're incredibly important, and understanding when your tools go out or go bad is an incredibly important part of quality and quality assurance. Inspection and tests. Because I'm an inspector and I work with it every single day, I did not find this difficult at all. For those that have not had that kind of work experience, understanding GD&T is probably going to be the biggest part of this, because understanding blueprints is relatively easy, especially for somebody that is fairly good at imagining things visually. The geometric dimensioning and tolerancing, if you do not know those symbols, if you do not know how that applies, it's going to be difficult to pass this particular portion of the exam. I don't think it's too difficult, and if you have any background in manufacturing where GD&T is used, it is pretty easy once you've got the hang of it. We have a bunch of other aspects of inspection and testing, such as certifications, NDT, understanding destructive testing, etc., and understanding sampling plans. These are all great details. I will get into it in another video, but highly, highly recommend. I actually found the questions regarding audits to be the most difficult. These were the ones that got me hung up and had me searching through the book for a while. And it's partly because some of the questions were a little bit badly worded, The other part was I was also not as familiar with the material for the audits. This was new material for me. And because of that, I was not as prepared as I should have been for this exam. And now that it's post-exam, I'm going to be learning more about these things and seeing how that can apply in my current role as an inspector, since I also do audits on stuff mid-process at my work. But the next hardest part was the risk management portion. And that's primarily because of this part up here, risk assessment and mitigation. This is something that I am not familiar with or wasn't familiar with before I started studying the material. And I have not had enough hands-on experience with it to know what to do with it. However, corrective actions and preventative actions, I do those all the time with non-conformance reports, along with other reports that are part of what I do on a daily basis as an inspector. All in all, the test was relatively easy. It took about 2.5 hours for me. You're given about 4.5 hours to take the exam. I would recommend, like with all tests, have a good night's sleep, drink water, have breakfast. But I would also highly recommend bringing the book. Since it is allowed, it is great reference material. And if you can reference it, it is useful. It has pretty much all the answers for the test, and I would get used to using it on a daily basis on what you do for work. And if it becomes too easy or you remember the information too well, set it on a shelf until you have another opportunity to learn something new from it when your work changes a little bit and is implementing something else. I hope that this information was useful. I thought the test was pretty good. If you have a dog, don't leave him in a spot he's going to bark at you all the time. That pretty much ruined my entire test. Fortunately, I believe I passed, but it still was not fun to hear him bark the entire time. Hope that was good. Take care.